The signal arrived on a Tuesday. Dr. Sarah Chen was running her usual analysis of data from the Arcturus Deep Space Array when the pattern emerged from the background noise, a clear, repeating sequence that couldn't possibly be natural. She double-checked her findings, then triple-checked them, before finally reaching for her secure phone to call the United Earth Defense Council. 24 hours later, she stood in a secured briefing room beneath Geneva, facing the collected leadership of humanity's most secretive organization. "The signal is artificial," she explained, gesturing to the holographic display. "And it's getting stronger. Whatever's sending it is approaching our solar system." General Marcos Santos, the weathered Brazilian who headed Earth's hidden defense forces, nodded grimly. "Time to arrival." "At current velocity, 3 weeks," Sarah replied. "They're not trying to hide their approach. In fact, I'd say they want us to know they're coming." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had spent the last century preparing for this moment, ever since the discovery of the Mars ruins had proven they weren't alone in the universe. Those ancient remains had contained a warning, one that had unified Earth's nations in secret preparation for the day aliens would arrive. The signal, when finally decoded, was deceptively peaceful. The Arcturus Collective, as they called themselves, claimed to come in friendship. They offered technology, knowledge, and membership in their galactic community. All they asked was that Earth submit to a brief quarantine period while they assessed humanity's development level. It took Earth's best cryptographers less than a day to decode the hidden message beneath the peaceful overtures. The quarantine would be permanent. Earth would become just another controlled experiment in the collective's vast menagerie of subjugated species. They didn't know about the Mars warning. They didn't know about the quantum shield generators hidden beneath every major city, and they certainly didn't know about Project Prometheus. When the collected ships arrived, sleek and silver against the black of space, humanity played its part perfectly. Earth's visible defenses, conventional missiles and fighters, made a show of resistance before being swatted aside. The aliens' ultimatum was broadcast worldwide: submit to quarantine or face extinction. General Santos stood before the United Nations, appearing to tremble as he publicly surrendered on humanity's behalf. "We accept your terms," he announced, his voice carrying the perfect note of defeat. That's when Sarah Chen, watching from her laboratory deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, activated the quantum field. The alien sensors had detected Earth's visible technology, the purposefully primitive satellites and defense systems. They hadn't detected the quantum tech because they weren't looking for it. They couldn't look for it. According to their understanding of physics, it shouldn't have been possible. The collected ships found themselves suddenly trapped in a quantum stasis field, unable to move or fire their weapons. Their communications were cut off by technology they couldn't comprehend, let alone counter. General Santos' trembling transformed into a smile. "Now then," he said to the suddenly silent alien commanders, "let's discuss the terms of your surrender." The Arcturus Collective's lead ambassador, a tall crystalline being named Vexthor, found himself seated in a conference room that hadn't existed an hour ago, surrounded by technology his species had deemed impossible for a primitive race to possess. "You don't understand," he insisted, his crystalline form flickering with distress patterns. "We are among the eldest races in the galaxy. Our technology is impressive." Sarah Chen interrupted, entering the room with a tablet displaying complex quantum equations, "but fundamentally limited by your assumptions about what's possible. You see, we found something on Mars a century ago. A warning, left by a species that encountered you before. They couldn't fight back, but they could prepare others." "Impossible," Vexthor whispered. "We cleansed Mars of all traces, except what was quantum-locked in a state of temporal stasis," Sarah finished. "We've had 100 years to study their technology, their history, and most importantly, their account of how you subjugate developing civilizations. We've spent a century preparing for this moment." General Santos laid a series of data tablets on the table. "These are our terms. You will withdraw your forces. You will acknowledge Earth's sovereignty. and you will provide us with a full database of every species you've quarantined. It's time for a change in the galactic order." Vexthor's crystalline form pulsed with what might have been fear. "And if we refuse?" Sarah smiled, tapping her tablet. Above the table, a hologram appeared showing the quantum stasis field surrounding the collective's fleet. "Then we'll league your ships as a monument in orbit. A reminder that humanity doesn't take kindly to would-be conquerors." The message was clear. Humanity had turned the tables on their would-be oppressors, and the galaxy would never be the same. As Vexthor reluctantly began reviewing the terms, Sarah caught General Santos's eye and nodded. This was only the beginning. The real work, freeing the other imprisoned civilizations and establishing a new, more equitable galactic community, was just starting. Earth wasn't just going to survive first contact. They were going to reshape the galaxy. The Arcturus Collective's surrender was just the beginning. Within hours of signing the peace accord, Earth's quantum communications network detected 7 other alien fleets approaching from different vectors. It seemed the Collective wasn't the only group interested in welcoming humanity to the galactic community. Admiral Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant, Earth's first quantum-powered warship, watching the tactical display. "They really don't learn, do they?" she mused, noting how each approaching fleet followed the same arrogant pattern. No attempt at stealth, no consideration that their target might be more dangerous than it appeared. "Ma'am," her tactical officer reported, "the Proxima array just decoded their communications. They're arguing over who gets to claim Earth as their protectorate." Elena couldn't help but laugh. "Well, let's give them something new to argue about." Initialize Operation Checkmate. Across the solar system, humanity's hidden defenses awakened. Quantum satellites shed their disguises as simple communication relays. Asteroid mining operations transformed into military bases. And beneath the surface of Mars, Project Prometheus's primary facility began its launch sequence. The first alien fleet to reach the solar system was the Hegemony, a species of silicon-based beings who prided themselves on their technological superiority. They dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Jupiter, weapons charged and ready to demonstrate their power. Instead, they found themselves surrounded by hundreds of small, seemingly primitive human vessels. Their sensors registered no significant energy readings, no weapons systems, nothing that could possibly threaten a Hegemony battlecruiser. Then Elena gave the order: deploy the quantum mirrors. The small human ships activated their quantum field generators, creating a cascading series of reality distortions. To the Hegemony's horror, their own weapons fire began reflecting back at them from impossible angles, their supposedly impenetrable shields useless against weapons they themselves had designed. An interesting thing about quantum physics, Elena's voice transmitted across all frequencies. It allows for some fascinating applications of Clarke's third law. Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic, unless, of course, you've spent a century figuring out how to turn physics itself into a weapon. The Hegemony fleet's commander, a crystalline entity named Zar-Ith, appeared on the Defiant's view screen. "This is impossible. Your species was supposed to be primitive, barely capable of interplanetary travel." Elena smiled. "Did you really think those clunky chemical rockets were our only means of space travel? That the International Space Station was the height of our capabilities? We learned long ago that the best defense is to let your enemies underestimate you." As if to emphasize her point, Mars's surface suddenly split open, revealing the massive form of the Prometheus array, a quantum weapon platform that dwarfed anything in the alien fleets. Its mere activation sent ripples through space-time that the alien sensors couldn't even process. "Here's what's going to happen," Elena continued. "You're going to power down your weapons, share your database of all known civilizations under your protection, and then we're going to have a very long discussion about the future of galactic politics." One by one, the alien fleets found themselves outmaneuvered not just militarily, but technologically and strategically. Humanity hadn't just prepared for first contact. They'd prepared for every possible variation of first contact, running millions of simulations, developing countermeasures for technologies they hadn't even encountered yet. In the Defiance conference room, Alina met with the assembled alien commanders. Humanity has no interest in conquering or controlling other species, she explained, but we will not allow the strong to prey upon the weak. The age of protectorates and quarantines is over. A reptilian commander from the coalition of free worlds leaned forward. And who will enforce this new order? You? No, Alina replied. All of us. Together. Or would you prefer we demonstrate more of our quantum technologies? We've barely scratched the surface of what we can do. The threat wasn't idle. Every alien present had witnessed their supposedly superior weapons and defenses proven worthless against human quantum technology. More importantly, they'd seen how humanity had hidden its true capabilities until the perfect moment, a level of strategic planning that was frankly terrifying. As the alien commanders reluctantly began discussing terms, Alina received a message from Earth. More ships were being detected approaching from the galactic core. But these were different, smaller species, former victims of the various protectorate systems, seeking not to conquer but to ally with the civilization that had finally stood up to their oppressors. The galaxy was changing, and humanity, for better or worse, was the catalyst. Dr. Sarah Chen found herself in an unusual position as she sat across from representatives of 12 different alien species in the newly constructed Terran Diplomatic Center beneath the Swiss Alps. The holographic displays around them showed real-time updates of the changing galactic political landscape. Let me make sure I understand, clicked Zix 427, a hive mind ambassador from the former Arcturus Collective. Your species not only predicted our standard conquest protocols, but developed countermeasures for technologies you hadn't even encountered. Sarah pulled up a holographic simulation showing centuries of human warfare. We have a saying on Earth, the best warrior is not the one who wins 100 battles, but the one who wins without fighting. We spent decades analyzing every possible first contact scenario. The simulation expanded, showing thousands of war games, strategic analyses, and technological development paths. Earth scientists hadn't just prepared for what they knew. They'd prepared for what they could imagine. And human imagination, as the aliens were learning, was terrifyingly vast. But the quantum technology, rumbled Kextel, the silicon-based hegemony representative. The Mars ruins couldn't have contained anything that advanced. We made sure of that. Sarah smiled. The ruins contained something far more valuable than technology. They contained proof that we weren't alone, and that some of what was out there meant us harm. Humanity has a long history of technological leaps driven by the need to defend ourselves. The quantum innovations were entirely our own. On the main display, footage played of humanity's latest demonstration. A fleet of unmanned quantum drones that could predict and counter enemy actions before they occurred, using temporal mechanics that most alien species had deemed theoretically impossible. Which brings us to why we're here, Sarah continued. Earth has no interest in becoming what we fought against. We're proposing a new framework for galactic relations, one based on mutual respect and genuine cooperation. The alien representatives shifted uncomfortably. Their species had spent millennia building power structures based on technological superiority and military might. Now, a species they'd planned to subjugate was dismantling those structures while simultaneously demonstrating capabilities that made their most advanced weapons look primitive. And if we refuse? Asked a crystalline being from the Proxima Conclave. Admiral Rodriguez, who had been silently observing, stepped forward. Then you'll find that what we've shown you so far represents perhaps 5% of our defensive capabilities. The quantum mirrors, a test run. The Prometheus array, a prototype. She gestured and new holograms appeared. Designs for technologies that made even the eldest species present recoil in astonishment. Weapons that could isolate pockets of space-time. Shields that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Drives that didn't so much travel through space as rearrange it. But that's not what we want. Sarah interjected, shooting Rodriguez a pointed look. We're offering something unprecedented. Genuine partnership. Earth's quantum technology combined with your centuries of spacefaring experience. Imagine what we could accomplish together instead of wasting resources on pointless power struggles. A murmur ran through the alien representatives as they processed this. Humanity wasn't just offering to spare them. They were offering to share technology that could revolutionize their civilizations. But there was a catch, and they all knew it. Your terms. Zix 427 clicked hesitantly. Sarah activated another hologram, this one showing the hundreds of species currently under protection or quarantine by the various power blocks. First, all subjugated species are freed. Immediately. Second, a new coalition is formed, one where each species has equal voice, regardless of their technological level. Third, we establish a mutual defense pact that prevents any species from attempting to dominate others. You would append millennia of established order. The Proxima representative chimed in disbelief. No, Rodriguez countered. We're offering you the chance to be part of building something better. Or would you prefer we start sharing our quantum technology with all those species you've been suppressing? The threat didn't need to be spelled out. Earth had already proved they could neutralize the most powerful fleets in the galaxy. If they armed the oppressed species with even a fraction of their technology, the existing power structures would collapse into chaos. As the representatives began reluctantly discussing terms, Sarah received a private message on her quantum pad. More signals were being detected, species so far out on the galactic rim that they'd never been contacted by the major powers. They'd been watching, waiting, and now they saw an opportunity for a different kind of first contact. The galaxy was about to become a much more interesting place. The quantum sensors aboard the UVS Defiant detected the approaching ships long before conventional systems could have spotted them. Admiral Rodriguez watched as the tactical display identified vessel after vessel, each belonging to a different species from the galactic rim. Civilizations that had stayed hidden from the major powers for centuries. They're requesting diplomatic contact, her communications officer reported. All 47 species. Simultaneously. Rodriguez shared a knowing look with Dr. Chen. The observers are finally coming out of hiding. The lead ship belonged to the Nexus Collective, a confederation of species that had secretly developed their own advanced technologies while avoiding attention from the dominant galactic powers. Their ambassador, a being of pure energy contained within an engineered body, materialized in the Defiance conference room. We've been watching. The ambassador's thoughts resonated directly in their minds. Since you first revealed your quantum capabilities, you're different from the others. Sarah stepped forward. You've been hiding your own advances, haven't you? Waiting for someone to change the status quo. The ambassador's energy form pulsed with what might have been amusement. For millennia, we watched the so-called elder races impose their protection on younger species. We chose a different path, secret development, hidden progress. But now humanity has shown there's another way. Rodriguez finished, by standing up to them openly. The tactical display updated, showing more ships emerging from concealment all across the galaxy. Species that had pretended to be primitive, civilizations that had hidden their true capabilities beneath false readings, all of them now revealing themselves. In Geneva, the United Earth Defense Council convened an emergency session. The holographic chamber was filled with representatives from both the former power blocks and the newly revealed civilizations. The galaxy's political landscape was transforming by the hour. The Terran Protective Alliance, General Santos announced, standing before the assembled delegates. That's what we're proposing. Not a dominion, not a protectorate, but a true alliance of equals, each species contributing their unique perspectives and capabilities. The Nexus ambassador's energy form brightened. We've developed technologies even you haven't imagined, just as you've created quantum applications we never considered. Together we can ensure no species ever faces the threat of subjugation again. Sarah completed. And we can push the boundaries of what's possible. The former power blocks watched with a mixture of resignation and growing interest as species after species pledged themselves to the new alliance. Their own positions, already weakened by humanity's quantum revelations, were becoming untenable. A delegation from the hegemony approached Rodriguez privately. "We've been discussing your proposal," their leader admitted. Perhaps we've been operating under outdated assumptions for too long." Rodriguez smiled. "Change is difficult, especially for species that have lived one way for millennia. But consider this. Every advancement we've shown you came from just one planet, in just a few centuries. Imagine what we could all achieve together." The next few days saw a flurry of diplomatic activity as the alliance took shape. The Prometheus array was repurposed as a hub for collaborative research. Quantum technology was merged with energy-being engineering principles. Biological insights from hive-mind species were combined with silicon-based computing innovations. But it wasn't just about technology. Earth's diplomatic corps worked tirelessly to establish new protocols for interspecies relations. The emphasis was on cultural exchange, mutual respect, and the preservation of each species' unique characteristics while working toward common goals. "We're creating something unprecedented," Sarah explained to a group of newly arrived representatives. "A galactic community where advancement doesn't come at the cost of subjugation, where diversity is seen as strength rather than a hierarchy." The Defiant's quantum sensors continued to detect new signals. More hidden species were emerging, drawn by the promise of an alliance that would protect rather than dominate. The galaxy was transforming from a collection of competing power blocks into an interconnected network of civilizations. As Rodriguez reviewed the latest diplomatic reports, she couldn't help but smile at the irony. The elder races had sought to quarantine humanity, fearing what they might become. Instead, they had catalyzed the very transformation they had tried to prevent, but in a way that would lift all species together. 1 year after humanity's quantum revelations, the Sol system hosted the first grand conclave of the Terran Protective Alliance. Ships from over 200 species filled Earth's orbit, their designs as varied as the civilizations they represented. The quantum-powered space elevator in Kenya worked continuously, ferrying delegates to and from the surface. In the newly constructed Alliance chamber beneath Mount Kilimanjaro, Admiral Rodriguez stood with Dr. Chen, watching representatives from across the galaxy take their seats. The chamber itself was a testament to their new cooperation, built with quantum engineering, powered by energy-being technology, and protected by defenses that incorporated principles from a dozen different species. "Did you ever imagine this when you first detected that signal?" Rodriguez asked Sarah quietly. Sarah shook her head, watching as a group of silicon-based hegemony engineers discussed quantum applications with energy-being scientists from the Nexus Collective. "I expected first contact to end in either conquest or conflict. Instead, we showed them a better way," General Santos finished, joining them. "Though I have to admit, even our most optimistic simulations didn't predict this outcome." The chamber's quantum displays activated, showing real-time updates from across the galaxy. Formerly subjugated species were flourishing under their new independence, while the old power blocks had transformed into educational and cultural centers, sharing their millennia of experience in more constructive ways. The Arcturus Collective's representative, Vextor, now a strong advocate for the new order, took the central podium. 1 year ago, humanity demonstrated that technological advancement doesn't have to come at the cost of wisdom. Their quantum innovations could have made them the new dominators of the galaxy. Instead, they chose to become its guardians. The former hegemony leader, Kextal, spoke next. "We thought we were protecting younger species by controlling their development. Humanity showed us that true protection comes from empowerment, not restriction." Sarah stepped up to address the assembly. "The Mars ruins warned us of the dangers waiting in the stars. But they also taught us something crucial, that fear of the unknown shouldn't drive us to dominate or control. It should inspire us to prepare, to innovate, and most importantly, to choose a different path." The quantum displays showed new achievements from across the Alliance. Collaborative research had already yielded breakthroughs that no single species could have achieved alone. The combination of quantum mechanics with energy-being physics had revolutionized space travel. Biological insights from hive mind species had transformed medicine across all member worlds. But our work is just beginning, Rodriguez continued. We've detected signals from the galactic core, more civilizations emerging, developing their own technologies in their own ways. Our mission now is to ensure they find allies rather than conquerors when they reach for the stars. The Alliance's new rapid response fleet demonstrated their capabilities. Ships crewed by multiple species, combining the best technologies and strategies from across the galaxy. They weren't designed for conquest or control, but for protection and peaceful contact. A young species from the galactic rim, making their first ventures into interstellar space, had recently encountered an Alliance diplomatic vessel. Instead of facing demands for submission or offers of protection, they'd been welcomed as equals, offered genuine assistance, and the opportunity to join the galactic community on their own terms. This is what we fought for, Sarah told the assembled representatives. Not just humanity's survival, but the right of every species to develop in their own way, to contribute their unique perspectives to our shared future. The Nexus Ambassador's energy form pulsed with approval. And in doing so, you've achieved something unprecedented. A galactic civilization based on mutual respect rather than dominance. As the conclave continued, new proposals were discussed. Educational exchanges between species, collaborative research initiatives, protocols for contacting and welcoming emerging civilizations. The galaxy was transforming from a hierarchy of power into a network of cooperation. In Earth orbit, the Prometheus Array, now renamed the Unity Station, served as a symbol of this transformation. Where once it had been conceived as a weapon of last resort, it now hosted scientists and diplomats from hundreds of worlds, all working together to push the boundaries of what was possible. Rodriguez received a quantum alert, another signal, from even further out in the galaxy. Another civilization making its first steps into the cosmic community. Another opportunity to prove that humanity's choice had been the right one. Ready a diplomatic mission, she ordered, smiling at Sarah. Let's go welcome our new neighbors. The galaxy had changed, and would continue to change. And humanity, by choosing to defend rather than dominate, had ensured those changes would lead toward a brighter future for all species. It wasn't the end of their story, it was just the beginning of a much greater one.